Welcome into CBS Sports HQ presented by Zelle. I'm Amanda Guerra with you. We have got a full weekend of NWSL action kicking off tonight with many big name players back home from the Olympics. The focus now shifting to postseason positioning. Taking a look at the slate of games we got coming up this weekend. Several important matchups here tonight. The Houston Dash, Washington Spirit, both going after their 6th wins of the season on Saturday. Can Portland get to double-digit wins with a 3-point outing against Orlando? And then on Sunday, the North Carolina Courage will look to keep their grip on the 2nd spot overall with a win against Chicago. Also keep in mind, all 4 weekend matches will be available for you on Paramount+. To preview these matches, let's welcome in the one and only Aly Wagner. Aly, let's start with the match we got coming up tonight. The Houston Dash hosting the Washington Spirit. Now, these teams are separated by 1 point in the standings, both in the playoff race right now, sitting at 7th and 8th place. So what can we expect to unfold tonight?
Yeah, and 3 points could put Washington in the 2nd position. So the middle of the table is incredibly tight. And I think both of these clubs are coming in and need to generate some positive momentum. Houston coming off of a weekend where they lost 5-1 to OL Reign, looked like a shadow of themselves. And they're not going to have their internationals back yet. During this run in the international period, they've suffered a lot. They haven't been able to pick up wins, 3 losses in a row. So this is a team that wants to find some joy against Washington Spirit. And I think they might be licking their chops a little bit or coming up against a wild card to a certain extent, because this Washington Spirit team just let go their manager. They're going to have an interim manager for this game. And you don't know what that does to a club. Do they get that boost? It is a young squad, or are they a little bit unsettled by the fact that they have a change at the top, at the helm, in their leadership? So you don't know what to expect out of this Washington Spirit side. I do think, though, that with this Washington team, when they played Houston Dash the last time out, it was 2-1 in favor of Washington. And Washington was able to play through the lines against Houston when they had a higher line of confrontation, and they were able to get in behind when Houston had a higher line of confrontation. So I look at this Houston Dash team and wonder if they are going to gamble and try to come out and pick Washington off in a more advanced area. I think they could pay a price if they do that, especially without their key internationals. They'll look to groom to generate some of their attack. But ultimately, I think Houston is going to sit deep and ask Washington to try to break them down. In which case, Ashley Hatch, Trinity Rodman, Ashley Sanchez, those are the 3 players that Washington need to have step up to create something in that final third. We've seen how good Ashley Hatch is in the air. If Washington can win the wide game, that's where they may be able to find some joy against Houston Dash, the way OL Reign tore them apart last week.
Aly, we've got 4 matches this weekend, so let's start with the Orlando Pride hosting the Portland Thorns. Now, the Thorns are 9-1 so far this season. They're at the top of the table. The Pride, they're still not going to have Alex Morgan because she's dealing with an injury from the Olympics. But I got to tell you, Sydney Leroux has been playing out of her mind. What can we expect here?
Yeah, she is. And Marta's back. Marta came back early. She's one of the first internationals back into the fold. But I think when you look at this Portland Thorns team, they've generated a little bit of distance between them and the pack, 7 points in the lead. And they picked up 5 wins, 1 draw over this international period. So they are humming. They are flying. But they're going into Orlando, who have a very large field, into that heat. And what Portland's been incredibly effective at is their press, their counter press, and being able to transition well. So the question will be is how efficient can they be in those moments? Talked to Mark Parsons just the other day about his result against Washington. He said, even though our numbers did not show that we were efficient in our press, and we weren't, we were able to keep Washington out of dangerous areas. And so he thought it was their most impressive defensive performance because they pressed them well enough to then be able to get numbers behind the ball. So that's going to be important going up against this Orlando Pride team that looks different with Becky Burleigh at the helm. This is a team now that is not as one-dimensional. We saw before they were very direct, looking to play balls off of Alex Morgan, Sydney Leroux, Taylor Korniak, get in behind. Now this team wants to possess. They are good at changing the point. So if they get outside that weak side of the diamond of Portland, they can find some joy and cause some problems for Portland Thorns. So I think they are going to obviously look to free up Sydney Leroux, get her in behind, but Portland's been good at dealing with those runs to try to pull out the center backs. I do think, again, this is a difficult match for Portland going into Orlando's home in the heat, but They got a week, 2 weeks to recover before their next match in NWSL, and Orlando has a week. So I think this game could be open. I think this is going to be one of the games to watch.
So that game's going to be open. Let's talk about this next one on Saturday. Kansas City going up against the OL Reign. It is in Kansas. Bottom line here, Kansas City needs a win. They have yet to win a single game this season. But Aly, this is going to be a very difficult task against this OL Reign team.
Yeah, OL's flying. I mean, of the two teams that have picked up a lot of points in this international break or generated momentum, it's OL Reign and Portland Thorns. OL coming off of that 5-1 win over Houston Dash, and their key internationals, their new signings, really are settling in. Eugenie Losamer has been effective at the 9. Last week, she moved back to the wing, and that has given space for Bethany Balser to try to own that 9 position. I don't see them changing that lineup going into this match against Kansas City, because this Kansas City team is not great at defending in those wide areas, and that's where this OL Reign team has been so dominant. You've got Sofia Huerta on the right, who's having, I think, her best NWL season ever, and now Eugenie Losamer settling on that left. And I think they're going to look to dominate the way they rotate Celia up on the right with Sofia Huerta. I think they're going to look to get at Mallory Weber, who is not a natural outside back. That's an advantage for this OL Reign team. And they are just confident and flying. Goals from Huerta, goals from Losamer, goals from Balser, Fishlock. They're coming from all different places. I think they had one of their most complete performances last time out. They dominated in every single facet of the game. I think they're going to look to continue that momentum against this Kansas City side, as you said, Amanda, that is struggling, and all they need is a little bit of a sniff, a little bit of positive momentum. And I think on this small field that OL Reign has, their press may be more effective. And that's where we've seen this KC team start to try to find some joy with the pace of Mace and Hamilton up top, Jenkins on the right. They may try to get OL Reign when they are going to be expansive in their build and pick them off in those more advanced areas, because otherwise they don't look likely to score if they are not doing it in transition.
All right, let's go to Sunday. We get New Jersey, New York, Gotham hosting Racing Louisville FC. Gotham in that 3rd place right now, and a tie. It is awfully clutch for them. Meanwhile, Louisville is 5 points out of a playoff position. So what can we expect here?
Yeah, go figure. The expansion team is staying with the pack. I think what they need to do is generate consecutive wins. They need to string together some positive performances. I don't think this Gotham team looks the same since Becca Moros left to go coach in Arizona at the collegiate level. She was the one that was in charge of all their trainings, and they just haven't played to that same level. Big question will be, does Midge Purse return? If Midge Purse returns from injury, I think that is where Gotham will look to take advantage of. Louisville in their attack like to rotate up Emily Fox on that left side. They'll overload areas. And if they can play in transition, get Ifeoma on Umanu, that woman there on the break, she could be a key to their success. But ultimately, I think they need to get Purse back to get this offense humming. Last time out against North Carolina, it was one of the first times they didn't dominate in possession. This Racing Louisville team is going to try to take the game to you, overload areas. And if you can break that counter press, because they have numbers there when they turn it over, if you can break that, there is going to be space for them. But I do like the way this Louisville team is playing an attack. They commit to it. They've been brave. They're getting numbers in the box. Nadia Nadim has brought incredible experience to this side to balance out some of this young, inexperienced, exuberant energy that Louisville has. And she's steadied, I think, the ship a bit and provided more composure for them. So they do look more dangerous going forward. They look like they can control games, whereas before they were leaving their center backs strung, high and wide, where they had to defend in wide open spaces 1v1. If they do that against Gotham, they'll be in trouble.
All right, finally Sunday we get the North Carolina Courage hosting the Chicago Red Stars, so we know which way our friend Sandra Herrera is leaning in this one. But the Courage are looking to keep a grip on the 2nd spot overall with a win against Chicago. Can they get it?
This is, they're one of the greatest rivals in the NWSL. And as Paul Riley says, it's their bogey team, Chicago Red Stars. Every team usually adjusts when they go into play that box midfield of North Carolina. Chicago, not an exception to that. They more than likely will drop in one of their double 9s, playing a 3 center back, 5 back situation or type system, and they'll match up in the midfield. So they're looking to negate this midfield of North Carolina. And ultimately, I think that can benefit North Carolina because they have Dabinia coming back. And even though she's in that midfield, she is an X factor. So if you look at Chicago, their vulnerabilities lie in their back line. They still will not have Julie Ertz back in the midfield. They won't have a Tierna Davidson, Casey Short. So those players are MIA. And I think North Carolina can maybe pick some moments where they are going to find a disconnect between Sarah Gordon, Kayla Sharples, and the other third center back that they have. But there's going to be less room for the top two of North Carolina. It's going to be Amy Rodriguez, Jessa McDonald, more than likely, who has not really found her form since returning from COVID, that last match out. I think the combination, though, of Dabinia, A-Rod, to watch them play for the first time ever is going to be something that we all want to witness, because this could be a special partnership with the nuanced movements that A-Rod has and the way that Dabinia can pull apart defense. This is another one that I say put your eyes on it because it's going to be an incredible matchup.
All right, she is two-time Olympic gold medalist, soccer analyst, mom to triplets, who is about to host a birthday party. Aly Wagner, thank you so much. Good luck with that. That is the match that we're all going to be watching as well this weekend. Aly Wagner, thank you so much for joining us here on CBS Sports HQ. So taking a look at the NWSL slate starting tonight and throughout the weekend, keep in mind all 4 weekend matches will be available for you on Paramount+. Now, if you're looking for more information about the world of women's soccer, make sure to download and follow the latest CBS Sports podcast, Attacking Third, with hosts Sandra Herrera and Lisa Roman. The latest episode previewing all of the games this weekend.